Hello, welcome to Government Connection. My name is Vicki Evans. Well, we must face it, we Americans really are a nation of oilaholics. And one way we can break this addiction is to increase our use of biodiesel fuels. And here in our area, the Pima Association of Governments and Grecycle have combined to give more than just lip service to providing ways for us to do this. And we're going to learn about it today as we welcome Colleen Crowninshield. Colleen, thank you for being here.
Thank you.
And Colleen is the Clean Cities Manager with the Pima Association of Governments. And also Alex Etheridge. Alex, thanks for being here. And Alex is the Marketing Manager with Grecycle. So we'll start with you, Alex. What is it that Grecycle does, and how are you involved in biodiesel?
Well, Grecycle provides a service to restaurants in Tucson. We pick up their used cooking oil, and we'll take actually used cooking oil from anyone who wants to give it to us from their homes or whatever, and we make it into biodiesel fuel.
It sounds real easy, but I mean, how much fuel, how much grease are you picking up? What is kind of the process of this?
Well, we find and get customers as restaurants, and then we'll set up a schedule of when we pick up their grease, and we do runs of grease pickups, and then we take it to our place where we make biodiesel, and then the process is all chemistry after that.
I was going to say, is it a long process? Is it a really complicated process?
It's not terribly complicated, and it doesn't take very long. It's about a 24-hour process to make one batch of biodiesel.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
Whoa. And you're nodding, Colleen. What is the Pima Association of Governments? Why are you involved, especially with the Clean Cities program?
Well, the Clean Cities program is run through the U.S. Department of Energy, and we are charged with reducing dependence on foreign oil. So it's a natural connection. It's reducing our dependence by increasing the use of biodiesel as a motor fuel.
What is kind of the overview right now in our valley or Tucson? How are we utilizing this a lot?
Absolutely, we are. We have quite a few large companies in Tucson that are using biodiesel in a blend. We've got school districts using biodiesel right down to the everyday average consumer filling up at stations around Tucson. Right. So we are using a lot of biodiesel, not nearly as much as we could or as I'd like to see.
What are some of the typical uses for biodiesel?
Well, motor fuel typically, and it can be used in any diesel engine with no retrofit needed to the vehicle.
But me with my gasoline, I would have to...
You'd have to have a diesel engine. You would have to have a diesel vehicle to run biodiesel.
Okay. And what are... I asked what some of the uses, but how much does this cost? Is it a cost-effective kind of a thing?
Well, for what Grecycle does, absolutely. I can let Alex talk to that, but it definitely is cost-effective.
Yeah, because we get our source for making the biodiesel mainly from Tucson, being the grease from the restaurants. It does reduce the cost significantly from, let's say, shipping it from somewhere else or farming soybeans, which is hard to do in Arizona with not little water to go around.
You know, we hear that it smells like French fries.
That's true.
It does?
Yeah.
How much is, I know it's a lot of chemistry that I won't understand, but how much is kind of left? You get 400 gallons of used cooking oil. Is there a residue that's left that's hardly anything?
After we make the biodiesel?
Yeah.
There could be a little bit of sludge, especially if it's from a restaurant. There may be some French fry particles or something. And so there is that waste.
But that's all biodegradable too, probably.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
What are some of the benefits, the environmental benefits, Colleen?
The environmental benefits are twofold in that we're reducing our dependence on foreign oil, which especially right now is it's an emergency situation in some areas. And I just returned from a trip to Europe where they're saying that we are in an energy crisis. And so environmentally, this is one way that we can reduce dependence on oil itself, not just foreign oil, but oil itself, which is very necessary. And a pollution reduction benefit. Just in a 20% blend of biodiesel, you can reduce your hydrocarbons, you can reduce your carbon monoxide and your particulate matter significantly.
Now, when you say blend, it's blended. If you have 20% biodiesel,
mm-hmm.
It's blended.
80% petroleum diesel.
Okay.
Just blended. It can be blended in any form. Usually you get your biggest environmental benefit from pollution reduction at a 20% and higher. There are a lot of people who will use 5% for other purposes, but you get your biggest benefit if you use it in at least a 20% or higher.
Yeah. We're hearing of it in the East Coast, especially with the energy crisis that we're facing right now here in the United States, that a lot of the home heating is oil, fuel, oil. Would biodiesel work there?
It would depend on if they
yeah.
were using a diesel type.
A furnace.
No, not necessarily. It would have to be an engine that could run a diesel fuel in it, not necessarily a natural gas fuel. But natural gas can be used and is used and is also an environmental benefit.
Right. And then West, I know we are pretty much natural gas, but I was just thinking about
one of the great things that GCon has helped us do is a great project down in Mexico, and we've actually taught some students down there how to make biodiesel out of restaurant grease, just like GCon is doing, and it's taking it out of their sewer systems there, which is a big issue. So there's a lot of environmental benefits from what GCon is doing that we don't think about as well.
Right.
Taking it out of the landfills. What do you normally do when you cook bacon? On Sunday morning, you either put it down the drain or you
put it in the
can and put it in the garbage,
right.
which ends up in the landfill, which ends up smelly and a hazard. And so this takes it out of that environment and does something good with it.
What have you got here? She's got Alex has got some examples here of.
I've got products that you get from making biodiesel. Two of these. This one is biodiesel made from soybeans. And as you can see, the color is a little bit yellower than the next one.
May I just smell that?
Sure.
May I just see what it's?
Yeah.
Now that's from soybeans.
Soybeans, yeah.
And this one is
Doesn't smell like much.
biodiesel made from yellow grease, or what we get from the restaurants. And it's a little bit lighter in color.
And it smells a little different too.
Does it?
It does.
There you go. And this is the other product that you get when you make biodiesel. This is glycerin.
See the difference in this?
This is called crude glycerin, and that can be used in making soaps and makeup and any number of
lotions,
things.
lots of that.
Yeah.
I'm just going to touch this, and it's not really greasy, is it? A little bit, but not.
No.
Not like as you coagulated as you think as your household grease.
Right.
Your kitchen grease comes. Very, very interesting. How is GCon? You're going into the restaurants, now you're reaching out to residential, is that right?
That's right.
So that we can take advantage of recycling some of our household grease.
Yeah, we're having an event the day after Thanksgiving, November 25th, where we're accepting cooking oil from people who may have deep fried their turkey. And
or even have a lot stored in their fridge,
yeah. Or even if you have bacon grease, you can bring that on down. And we're having one location at O'Reilly Chevrolet. It's 6160
right.
East Broadway, and the other location is 3390 North Ritchie Boulevard.
Right.
It's a Pima County Wastewater Management location, and Pima County Wastewater and Colleen with Clean Cities are teaming up with us to promote this event and to host it, because it benefits all of us.
Right. And we are talking to Alex with GCon and Colleen with the Pima Association of Governments. And once again, it's a time to get rid of that household cooking grease, and it can be reclaimed and turned into biodiesel fuel. And it's the first annual, I guess we could call it, right? Holiday Cooking Oil Recycling Drive. Pima City Wastewater Management's also has also helped sponsoring this.
Yes,
they're at 3390 North Ritchie Boulevard, and another location is O'Reilly Chevrolet, 6160 East Broadway. This is the day after Thanksgiving, while you're out and about joining everyone else on the busiest shopping day of the year. Just drive by these places and get rid of that cooking grease. So we'd also like to give you some contact information, first with GCon, so you can go and learn more about them. It's GCon, and you're located at 1830 East Broadway. And the phone number is 628-4300. That's 628-4300. And always check out the website, www.grecycle.com. And then also the Pima Association of Government, and they're located downtown, 177 North Church Avenue, Suite 405. Phone number there is 792-1093. That's 792-1093. And the website's www.pagnet.org. And I should just say it once more, www.pagnet.org, pagnet.org. I'd like to get back on that. So you have to have, the biodiesel fuel has to run in a diesel engine.
Mm-hmm.
Do you see, Colleen, you're traveling really internationally, learning more about uses of fuel and energy crisis and what to do. How do you see Americans like myself with a standard, gasoline internal combustion car? How do you see us kind of maybe transforming or becoming a part of this movement?
Well, there are several forms of alternative fuels. Biodiesel isn't the only alternative, and I just want to encourage anyone to seek an alternative if they can. Now, biodiesel back east has been being used for a very long time, and we've had phone calls for the last 5 years that I've taken over this program from people back east saying, I'm coming out, I'm a winter visitor and I want to fuel. Or we have Willie Nelson, who fuels his whole tour bus with biodiesel, and Bonnie Raitt does the same, and so there are a lot of people like that who are joining the movement. In Europe, as I was just traveling in Europe, just about every vehicle on the road there is a diesel engine because they're more fuel efficient. So, we were traveling in Mercedes that were diesel engines. Just about every vehicle on the road is a diesel engine. So biodiesel there is not uncommon at all, and they're doing some really fascinating things with compost and making biodiesel fuel out of compost. And so, I think that you're going to start seeing more diesel engines, coming our way.
Right.
So I know a lot of people go on the internet and they just try to buy diesel engines, old diesel vehicles,
Mm-hmm.
Mercedes, or whatever they can find that are diesel engines and running biodiesel.
Right. People are going to ask about their pocketbook. How, they already know how much it is at the pump, at the regular gasoline pump right now, and it doesn't look like it's going to go down much. How much? What can you tell them about their pocketbook? How does biodiesel help that situation?
Well, right now it's about a break-even point. If you're going to buy biodiesel as a soybean instead of a recycled vegetable oil at the pump, if in 100% it's going to be just about the same or slightly less than regular diesel fuel. So you're not going to see a huge reduction in your pocketbook and what you're spending to fill your vehicle. But if companies like Grecycle start to sell used cooking oil that's made locally here with no transportation cost, you're going to greatly reduce your cost, because transportation costs for fuel are enormous. It's a huge cost to the companies who sell it. They have to transport it here somehow, and that's something people don't think about.
Right.
So if we can make biodiesel right here in Tucson from Tucson things, you don't have the transportation costs. It's going to greatly reduce that fuel cost.
Right. So Grecycle is now you're collecting the grease from restaurants. How do you see the program growing once it catches on?
I think we'll just keep growing our customer base, being the restaurants that we pick up grease from, and just see how much biodiesel we can make and go from there.
And then sell maybe to supply, like gasoline stations or biodiesel stations, excuse me.
We hope to sell to them, or fleets we're looking at as well. So, yeah.
Oh, wow. Is it expensive for a service station is it a big deal for them to have to switch over?
Not necessarily a big deal. There are some things that they do have to do. They have to completely clean a tank, because biodiesel is the best cleaning agent you will ever find. It will strip your tank clean of any particle that's in there. So before you dump a load of biodiesel into a big storage tank, you have to clean it pretty darn good to do that, because otherwise you're going to find your fuel lines and things are going to be clogging as you're
Wow.
trying to pump the fuel. And the same thing with a user of biodiesel. They need to continuously watch their fuel filters and things for the first couple of weeks or sometimes couple of months, depending on how old the vehicle is, because it is a darn good cleaner.
Wow.
So,
Which
but
extends the engine life, and that's another benefit of it.
absolutely,
Right.
absolutely. The school districts, we do have several school districts here in Tucson right now using a B20 blend of biodiesel. And that's one of the reasons they're doing it, is because it will extend the life of that engine. It's a reduced maintenance cost for them, because once that tank is clean, it reduces the amount of times they have to clean the fuel filters, and the oil is actually cleaner as well because you're running a clean fuel through your engine. So,
Right. I'd like to just, I'm learning a lot here myself. Go over the points again. It would be, if we could produce biodiesel fuel here in Tucson, the benefits of that, Colleen, again.
well, I don't know how many people realize where your fuel comes from, but there are, I mean, it's not just foreign countries, but when you're bringing a tanker of,
Even
from anywhere, if you're bringing a tanker of fuel to the United States, it's being guarded by our servicemen as well. I mean, there's a lot of things that happen to bring fuel into the United States. So if we can produce it right here in Tucson, you're not only cutting down on the amount of fuel that is, you know, coming through our seas, which we all know what happens when an oil tanker spill happens. It reduces transportation costs right off the bat, because once it's in the United States, you have to transport it out. I mean, it definitely is just a win-win for everybody.
And the environment.
That goes without saying. It's definitely an environmental benefit. So, and it takes grease out of the sewers. It takes grease out of the landfills. I mean, I can't think of a...
Do you mean you could actually, Grecycle right now could go into if there was a, you could get household cooking grease out of the sewer system?
It's a problem that the Pima County Wastewater Management deals with a lot, is when people don't know what to do with their grease.
I know.
They may dump it down the sink, and that's a terrible thing to do. Never do that. And
My mother told me that.
But you'd be amazed at how many restaurants do it.
yeah.
Yeah.
So
But there's a way to extract it from the.
no, I wouldn't want to do that.
We're hoping to trap it before it gets to that point.
Yeah.
That's the
Oh, I
thought,
see.
is to just
Okay.
not let it get to that point. There are some people in other cities working on actually extracting it from sewer.
I'll be darned.
But we're just hoping to stop it before it ever gets to that point.
And that's one of the reasons why we're excited about this Thanksgiving thing, is because the Pima County has told us that grease-related sewer overflows are the highest right during the holiday period.
Yeah,
So.
and probably that lasts from Thanksgiving on through New Year's, I would
Yeah.
think.
Yeah.
So let's talk about this event. This is how you can get involved and also get rid of the household grease and not put it down your sink, and get rid of those coffee cans in your fridge that, if you're like mine, they may have a little science project growing on them, you know. And it is called the Holiday Cooking Oil Recycling Drive. It's the first annual ever, and it's being held. You can drop off your household grease on the day after Thanksgiving, 8 a.m. to 2 p.m. at the following two locations. At the Pima City Wastewater Management, and that's 3390 North Ritchie Boulevard, and also O'Reilly Chevrolet, 6160 East Broadway. So take advantage of this. And do you have plans then, Alex, can people be dropping off household grease throughout the rest of the year?
Yes, they can. There's 2 other locations that we also provide that service for.
And go ahead and start where go ahead.
They're at 526 North 9th Avenue. That's called Originate. It's a natural building materials showroom. And also Tanya's Restaurant. I'm not sure of the address, but it's on Grande between St. Mary's and Speedway.
Right. I know we have this graphic for you, and we'll repeat that information for you as soon as we can get that up. And this is, well, look, it's magic, and I wish the rest of the world would listen to me as well as that graphic did. It's the year-round drop-off neighborhood Grecycle members, and you can always drop off household grease here at these 2 locations, 614 North Grande, and the phone number there, 0685, and also at 526 North 9th Avenue with the phone number there, 792-4207. Do you think our automotive, are we too entrenched? Are you seeing some flexibility in the way Americans are thinking, Colleen, to
Yes.
begin to attempt to break away from that
Definitely.
hold that oil has?
I think as a whole, just in Tucson in general, in the last 2 years, we have seen an amazing increase in not only questions about alternatives, but car dealerships seeking the alternative fuel vehicles to sell, and they're promoting that. O'Reilly Chevrolet, Jim Click, they're all really trying to climb on board and try to promote that they have these vehicles available to people. And I definitely, across the U.S. with the Clean Cities program, we've been seeing it for the last 3 years, but really in the last year, a huge increase in just interest and fleets really wanting to, it's very difficult.
When you say fleets, you mean
any company that has more than 10 vehicles, we
like a
consider
school
a fleet.
district,
Like a school district, or your electric company, your gas company, and they have to try to budget. Just like you and I have to budget our household, fuel costs, they have to budget fuel costs for that fleet. And when fuel prices are all over the place, it's very difficult to stick to a budget. With the alternative fuels, the margin it doesn't fluctuate like it does with petroleum. So the price stays fairly firm. And I'm not saying it's perfectly firm, but it stays more firm than petroleum. So they can budget a lot easier for their fuel costs throughout the year.
Right. Alex, does it make a difference whether the household grease, I just thought, is like a vegetable base, like a canola, or whether it's, an animal lard? Does it matter?
It doesn't. We've actually been doing some studies in our lab about the difference. I'm not sure of the results yet, but we will take either or, vegetable or animal based.
So they can all do that.
Yep.
How did you get involved in this, Alex?
My boss, Mike Kaz, who's the founder of GreaseCycle, I work for him, and I guess I just got involved that way.
So but your background is not, I was thinking, but you're not a chemist or...
No, I'm actually a geologist.
You're a geologist?
Yeah.
Oh gosh, you're supposed to be out finding the oil. I'm sorry.
I never did that.
So once again, we want to give you the information here, contact information with GreaseCycle and Clean Cities, the Pima Association of Governments. Okay, and it is the Holiday Cooking Oil Recycling Drive, Pima County, I've been saying city, Pima County Waste, and that's with my glasses, Pima County Wastewater Management, and we're also a sponsor of this event. And it's the day after Thanksgiving, and please take your household grease to these 2 locations, and it can be recycled into biodiesel fuel. Once again, one location, Pima County Wastewater Management, 3390 North Ritchie Boulevard, and the other location is O'Reilly Chevrolet, 6160 East Broadway. And if you have any questions at all about what GreaseCycle is doing or want some more information, additional information, please contact them. Their location, 1830 East Broadway, phone number 628-4300, and of course the website www.greasecycle.com. And for Clean Cities, which is a part of Pima Association of Government, 177 North Church Avenue, which is downtown, and a phone number 792-1093, that's 792-1093, and the website there, www.pagnet.org, www.pagnet.org. If this is such new information, and we've been, what would you think is the question, well, let me put it this way. What do you think is the fallacy that we Americans have in our head about converting to biodiesel, or is it going to be good, or is it?
I think most people, when they think about alternatives in general, they think that's great for everybody else, but I can't do it, or I can't use it, there's no way for me to use it, all of those things. And there are a lot of people out there with diesel engines that can use biodiesel, and they don't realize that there is no conversion process. They just put it in their tank as they would regular diesel fuel and go.
Do we have some locations right now? I mean, people could contact you, and there are some where people could get biodiesel fuel.
Right now there is one location, and it is Arizona Petroleum at 22nd and Cherry. It sells B20 and B100.
What does that mean? What are those?
20% biodiesel, 80% petro, already mixed. You don't have to mix it yourself out of one nozzle, and
Right.
100% out of another. And in Oracle, we have Fourth Dimension Fuels. Megan Hartman, who's done just a fabulous job up there, she sells 100% biodiesel in Oracle on American Avenue. Can't miss her. She's right off American Avenue, Main Street in Oracle. And we do have other locations that are looking into this as well.
Right, right.
So,
How about you? What you've run into, Alex? What do you think sometimes is perhaps a little big stumbling block to get the public to buy into this?
I think a lot of times they think that it's more expensive, and right now it's actually cheaper than diesel. So that's a
Okay.
big bonus, I think.
Right. I have to ask you, either of you, do you have biodiesel? Can you?
I actually have a truck that runs on ethanol, and it's
Okay.
made from corn.
Right.
So I have a truck that runs on ethanol, and I have a dedicated natural gas Honda Civic as well. So
What does that mean now? Dedicated?
It means it runs solely on natural gas. There is no gasoline option.
Okay.
So I do have both of those. I drive them every day.
You're making me feel guilty, you guys. This has been really, really informative, and I just want to, while I still have everybody's attention, I want to tell you about next week's Government Connection show, and that will be November 16th, and it is the Marana Unified School District, and Dennis Dearden, who is the District Superintendent of Schools, will be with us. That's Government Connection next week, live November 16th at 6:30 p.m. And we thank you all so much. That's it. We've done it.
Thank you.
So thank you very, very much. Very
you're
informative.
welcome.
Really appreciate it. Thank you. Cheers, guys. Good job.